Hey everyone, welcome to another YouTube video. In this video, I'm going to talk about the biggest mistake of my life, but I'm going to put a little twist on it because the biggest mistake of my life is happening all the time. Now, when I started to try to do things, whatever it is, it always felt like a mistake. Now, when you do something and then you get something in front of you like a block, a wall, then for some reason you're unable to find ways to go cross it. And when that happens, then what happens is that you start wondering like, well, is this a mistake? Should I actually not go through it, or should I just go, another direction? Is it a biggest mistake of your life? And sometimes before you're gonna take that leap that you need to do, it sounds like the biggest mistake of your life. And this was my experience with university when I used to go to university and then I dropped out. And then a couple years later, I started thinking about going back to university again. And as soon as I started thinking of it, I, making the pros and the cons clear to me in my head. And I realized that I was gonna go. And then when I signed up, I did a bunch of different things to sign up, right? I went to university, I had to write this long essay describing why I wanted to go back. Basically, I had to do a kind of like an interview with the guys there, and basically I got back in. And the weeks prior to actually starting my semester, after I signed up, I kept thinking that it was the biggest mistake of my life. I had a bunch of other stuff going on. I was starting a business. I wasn't completely done working on myself. I was still recovering from trauma, from something that happened that was extremely traumatic. And basically, I wasn't sure, right? And the worst thing was that I would try to convince myself to go through the steps required to actually force myself to go to university without even doubting, my feelings. But what happened is that my feelings were there. They festered. They got worse and worse and worse. And then next thing you know, these feelings, they just bubbled up. And then next thing you know, I'm thinking that university is the biggest mistake of my life. I thought that going to university was going to ruin my business. I thought that going to university was going to ruin my plans of making money. Going to university was going to ruin my personal brand. And what happened was that I ended up going to university anyway. And the whole time I was in university, and I still am in university, for the first few months, I was feeling like so guilty because I had let these feelings turn into a thought, and this thought was causing me a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety. So being in this position of like being in university plus thinking a bunch of different things about how I had told myself that it was going to be the biggest mistake of my life, then actually going and then realizing that it's not the biggest mistake of my life, but that it's just very, very difficult to get back into the swing of things. And then university is difficult. Like, you gotta study a lot, you gotta do exams, you gotta write papers, you gotta attend class and all that. And it was difficult. And these feelings of anxiety and stuff kind of lowered. But the problem was that I had this guilt that I had to deal with, this horrible guilt that I wasn't listening to myself. It's like the emotions I had, the thoughts that I had were telling me not to go, and I had to go anyway, okay? And to dive a little bit more deep into just that specifically, well, I had told myself in the past that I was never going to go back to university again, and then here I am going back to university again. Plus, in the past, I never ever hesitated before doing something. I always followed my gut feeling. I always followed my thoughts and my inner feelings about things, right? So like as soon as the university started getting painful, I stopped going to university. All my life I've done that. And this was a time where I was in I had to choose between people, because everyone in my family pretty much was either in university or had gone to university and was telling me to go to university, and then there was my internal gut feeling, my internal thoughts that were telling me not to go. So it was between choosing me versus pretty much everybody's advice. So obviously you go on YouTube, you go on internet, and there's so many videos telling you that you don't need university, right? A lot of these people, they're marketers, and they're trying to say, don't go to university, just do my course, and then you'll be able to work in the same industry as me, which is like very valid. And then there's some, you know, big name people who are also saying you don't need university, you could just come work for me, or you know, you can just work for a company and work on your personal brand, work on your hobbies. And that's very, very true. I actually believe that in this day and age you can do things based on what you like, because other people, but at the end of the day, that makes you an entertainer, right? And for so many other things you need to do, or most people need to do, you need university. Now, I was in a position where I had to choose, right? And I decided to go with the choice of, you know, listening to other people, you know, partly because I've gone into trouble for not listening to people in the past. And, you know, at the end of the day, if everything goes, like, if I go, like physically, like in reality, if you go to university, it just takes some years off your life and you get an experience in return. So I didn't really see the risk. And from doing this, I learned so many things. And one of the things is that, first of all, you know, sometimes you gotta change your programming, and once you do, then you can move on to greener pastures. So once you're in a program that's telling you to do something, and you want to change your life, or you want to do something else, you know, you might resist, right? Your body might resist the change in direction, because it's just like the laws of physics. If you're going in a direction, then, you know, there's the acceleration, and then if there's, like, you know, it's difficult to stop something that's going quickly in one direction. So all this to say is that, you know, the biggest mistake of your life is gonna happen. I'm not, like, for me, I feel like it's happened over and over, where I've felt something and I haven't listened to it, and I ended up getting punished for it in the end. So it's a little bit counterintuitive, but even though I'm getting these feelings for stuff like university and other decisions that I've made, like starting this business venture and stuff, I am still going to go with the common sense, logic, other people's advice, and hopefully, I know this is not what you wanted to hear, but this is going to be very scary for me. Although the guilt is gone, because I know that it makes sense what I'm doing, the fact that I went against my intuition, and that I'm not really listening to the thoughts in my head as much, and I'm listening to some higher power, which is, you know, I consider me, like, my, you know, being able to think past, you know, critical thinking past, you know, just you know, propaganda, marketing, and stuff like that. And I'm gonna see where that takes me. So I thought I'd make this video to share my experience with the biggest mistake of my life. Apparently university is the biggest mistake of my life, and I'm doing it. So I'm doing the biggest mistake of my life. So I guess if you care, I'll let you know what happens through these videos and stuff. But if not, and something horrible happens, then at least it is on camera that this is what I was going through. But I don't think something's gonna happen. I mean, I'm literally not even spending that much time in university. It's online too, because of the virus. So I basically just have to, you know, watch a few videos and read. So if we're against that, if we're against watching a few videos and reading just to get, you know, a diploma that, you know, most people actually see it as like something better socially than not having a degree, then this world is really messed up. And I'm sorry that you want to take away my freedom like that, you know, freedom of choice. And fill me with a bunch of fears about, you know, making decisions like, oh, maybe I'm gonna just finish my degree just to have it, you know. And when people freak out, I mean, like, you know, my internal state is basically based on other things, but that's for another. For another story. I mean, it's based on my environment, right? What I've been seeing, maybe online, maybe with friends and stuff, maybe myself with the past things that I've been telling myself, right? The suggestions I've been telling myself, and all these things. You know, if it's so hard for me to get past these things, right? Get past this programming, just the fact that I was able to do it gives me a lot of hope, and hopefully I'll be able to do this more and more and better in case we need to change direction, you know, being able to adapt quickly to new environments. You know, it's one of the smartest things that we can do as humans. So, I mean, it's been difficult to go from full-time entrepreneurship to more of like a hybrid student entrepreneurship, and it's been an incredible journey. A lot of pain, very much a lot of pain, but I really hope that in the end it pays off. That's what I'm going with. That is what I am betting on, right? Common sense and the payoff. So only time will tell what happens. And with that said, thank you for watching, and if you like this video, don't hesitate to leave a like and a comment. And if you want to see more of me on this channel, then just smash the subscribe button. I will see you in the next one. Peace.